Not even summer holidays have slowed down the leak machine around Apple's next big September keynote. Over the last few weeks, multiple reports have pointed in the same direction. The iPhone lineup may be about to change shape, literally. The biggest rumor isn't just about new cameras or a faster chip. It's about Apple preparing its first foldable iPhone, widely referred to online as the iPhone Fold. The name isn't confirmed, and neither is the final design. But the details being repeated across the tech world paint a clear picture. A phone with an outer display of around 5.5 inches, and an inner display that expands to nearly 8 inches when unfolded, putting it dangerously close to small tablet territory, basically iPad mini vibes in your pocket. And then there's the number that changes everything, the price. Early estimates suggest it could go beyond $2,000, which would instantly make it the most expensive iPhone ever. So the question isn't only, is Apple making a foldable? The real question is, who actually wants the iPhone Fold? Because Apple wouldn't be inventing a new category here. Apple would be walking into a market that has existed for years, built, tested, and refined by Android manufacturers that have already tried foldables in almost every form imaginable. If you've followed foldable phones at all, you already know the big names. Samsung has spent years dominating this space with two main approaches: the Galaxy Z Flip, the modern return of the classic clamshell flip phone, and the Galaxy Z Fold, the book-style foldable that opens sideways into a mini tablet. Google took a similar route with its foldable Pixel devices, and Motorola brought back a legend with the Razr, reimagining one of the most iconic Y2K-era phones as a sleek modern foldable. These aren't retro devices in the way old phones were. They're full-power smartphones. They run the same apps, shoot high-end photos, stream video, handle productivity, and once unfolded, many of them give you a screen that's bigger than what most people use day to day. So why did foldables become a thing in the first place? Because the smartphone industry hit a design wall. For nearly 20 years, smartphones have been evolving, but visually they've been converging into the same object: a slim slab, a black rectangle, multiple camera lenses on the back, and a screen that eats almost the entire front. New releases deliver better chips, better cameras, brighter displays, more AI features, but the physical form is basically the same. Foldables were the industry's attempt to break that pattern, not by reinventing what a phone does, but by changing what a phone is, and that's where Apple's arrival becomes more interesting than the foldable iPhone itself. Back in 2007, Apple didn't just release a successful product, it reshaped the entire tech world. Now, almost 2 decades later, Apple appears ready to enter a category invented by competitors in a market that's already been through multiple generations of trial and error. That's a very different Apple story. If the rumors are right, Apple would be offering a phone that costs as much as a laptop and unfolds into something almost as large as a small iPad, which sounds impressive, but also raises a simple, unavoidable question. What problem is this solving for most people? To be fair, foldables do have real advantages, especially the book-style fold design. For productivity, it's easy to understand the appeal. You can review documents, handle email, edit photos, manage spreadsheets, or run 2 apps side by side with much less compromise. For travel, you could carry one device instead of a phone and a tablet. For entertainment, you get a bigger canvas for movies, YouTube, sports, and gaming. And for certain users, creators, entrepreneurs, students, remote workers, a phone that becomes a tablet can genuinely make daily life easier. But looking at the bigger picture, the rise of foldables also tells another story. We're running out of ways to imagine what the next smartphone should look like. That's why the iPhone Fold rumor feels so significant. Not because a foldable is guaranteed to become the new standard, but because Apple doesn't typically jump into hardware trends unless it believes it can define the correct version of that product. If Apple is truly preparing a foldable iPhone, it likely thinks foldables are no longer a weird niche. They're ready to become mainstream, or at least profitable at the premium end. Still, premium isn't the same as popular. A foldable iPhone priced above $2,000 wouldn't be aimed at the average iPhone buyer. It would be aimed at a very specific group of people, the ones who always buy the biggest model, the most storage, the highest tier, people who treat the iPhone as their primary computer, camera, and daily tool. So let's get specific. Who actually wants the iPhone Fold? First, there's the Apple ecosystem power user. The person who lives inside iMessage, FaceTime, iCloud, AirDrop, Notes, Reminders, Apple Pay, and the whole Apple services stack. This user doesn't just want a foldable phone, they want a foldable phone that works perfectly with their MacBook, iPad, Apple Watch, and AirPods. They've watched Android foldables for years, but never considered switching because the ecosystem matters more than the hardware. Second, there's the status buyer. Like it or not, iPhones have always carried social weight. A foldable iPhone wouldn't just be a new phone, it would be a statement. And if it becomes the most expensive iPhone ever, that statement becomes even louder. For some buyers, that alone is the point. Third, there's the professional multitasker. People who constantly juggle apps, Slack and email, calendar and calls, documents and messaging, research and notes. A larger inner display makes that workflow feel less cramped. If Apple optimizes iOS for true split-screen multitasking on a foldable, it could become the best one-device solution for certain jobs. Fourth, there are content consumers who want maximum screen without carrying a tablet. If your daily routine includes a lot of YouTube, streaming, reading, browsing, sports, comics, or mobile gaming, an 8-inch internal display is genuinely appealing. But then, we hit the other side of the conversation, the reasons many people might not want it. Durability is always the first concern. Foldables have improved, but they still come with trade-offs: a hinge, moving parts, flexible displays, and the possibility of visible creasing. Apple will likely try to solve this with engineering, but physics is physics. People buying a $2,000 phone will expect it to feel indestructible, and foldables are, by nature, more complex than standard slab phones. Then there's battery life. 2 screens, larger display area, and a device that has to stay thin enough to be pocketable. Battery performance becomes a balancing act. Then there's the real everyday question: how often will you actually unfold it? Many foldable owners love the idea of the big screen, but in daily life, they still spend most of their time on the smaller outer display. If Apple's rumored outer screen is around 5.5 inches, that's not tiny, but it's smaller than what many people are used to on modern phones. If the outer screen feels cramped, users may be forced to unfold more often, which changes how casual and effortless the phone feels. And finally, there's software. Hardware gets attention, but software decides whether a foldable is a gimmick or a lifestyle upgrade. Apple would need to ensure apps scale beautifully. Multitasking feels natural, transitions are smooth, and developers have clear tools to optimize for the foldable format. If Apple nails that, it could set a new standard. If it doesn't, the iPhone Fold risks feeling like an expensive experiment. Now here's the twist. While the industry races toward bigger screens and more immersive devices, something else is happening at the same time, almost in the opposite direction. In recent years, a slice of Gen Z has been rediscovering dumb phones, including classic flip phones. Not because they're powerful, but because they're limiting. A flip phone can be a symbol of a more controlled relationship with technology. It gives you a physical action, closing the phone, that feels like shutting out TikTok, Instagram, constant notifications, endless email, and hours of scrolling. So we're living in a strange moment where flip phones are back for 2 totally different reasons. On one side, people chasing digital minimalism, trying to reduce screen time and reclaim attention. On the other side, tech companies using the same flip and fold form factor to build even more advanced devices, phones that don't disappear at all, but in some cases become even bigger than the regular smartphones they're meant to replace. That contrast is exactly why the iPhone Fold debate matters. Because Apple doesn't just launch products. Apple launches cultural objects. If Apple truly reveals a foldable iPhone alongside models like the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max, with rumors even suggesting there might be no base iPhone 18 in the usual cycle, then Apple isn't just selling a new device. It's making a statement about where it thinks the smartphone era is going next.